Hello, and today I'm going to be taking us through the Ensign installation PDF takeoff. So the first thing that we are going to want to do is upload our drawings onto the cloud. So the first button we are going to want to press is this blue folder icon here that will allow us to browse our cloud documents. And then I've got my drawings on my desktop, so I'm just going to minimize the software here and go highlight the two drawings in which I need, and then just simply copy them and come inside my drawings folder and paste them in here. Now, if you do have Dropbox or OneDrive, we can set those two links up over here on the left, so you have direct access into them whilst you're on the cloud. Either way, though, to actually get the drawings onto the software, it's the same process. All we're going to want to do is come back onto the software and come to the yellow folder up here and give that a press, and you'll see straight away it'll take us into our drawing folder, so we have the ability to open our drawings up straight from here. So I'm just going to simply highlight which one I want to open and press the open button. Now that's going to load the drawing up on our screen for us, so the first thing that we are going to want to do is actually set our scale for the drawing. But just first, before we go into that, I'm just going to cover some of the controls of how to move around. So I've currently got a certain setting on that allows my mouse wheel to zoom in and out. So all I have to do is roll the wheel towards the monitor and then roll it back to myself to zoom back out. Now it does zoom in wherever the mouse is pointing, so it doesn't actually require that much effort to zoom either in or out. Preferably, if you wanted to, you can turn that function off and then simply use these magnifying zoom in, zoom out, which do the exact same thing. That's just more of an option for yourself. Now, to actually move around on the drawing, you can just use your pen tool on the left click, but this will only work when you've not got one of your takeoff tools selected. Of course, you've got your sliders, and if you want the ability to move around at all times, simply push and hold down your mouse wheel. That will give you the ability of the pan tool at any given moment, and that's going to help us out a little bit later on. So what we're going to want to actually do now is actually go and set the scale of the drawing. So what I'm going to do is just zoom out and move down to the bottom of the drawing. So I can see down here it says the scale is 1 to 100 at paper size A1. Now the software does agree that the paper size is A1, so there's a good chance that the scale 1 to 100 will be correct. So I'm going to go select that now, but you're always going to want to double check these sort of things, so I'm going to find something to take a measurement of. That being scale bar, kitchen counter, a doorway, whatever you prefer to use. So I'm going to come up here to the tools bar and I'm going to grab the ruler tool, so the measure distance. So I'm going to give that a left click, and this will allow us to just measure the width of the doorway. So I'm going to left click at one side of the door and then simply come over here and left click at the other. And that's given me a suitable measurement, what we'd expect of the doorway. However, if that was wrong, of course we do have the ability of creating your own custom scales. So you can simply come here and select custom. Now in here you could type in any of the other scale options which wasn't in the drop down menu, but what I'm going to show you is this little button here. So if we give that a press, we are able to actually come over here to the doorway again and just do what we did before. So left click at one side of the door and left click at the other. But the difference is this time it's actually asking us what this distance should be in millimeters. So if I input roughly 850 and input that, it's created a scale of 1 to 106. Now this is a very helpful tool if you find that your paper size is wrong or if the scale just wasn't correct, because now we can safely round up or down to where we believe the scale should actually be. So now that we've got that all correct, now effectively we just need to make sure that the drawing is exactly how we want it, so ready for us to do the takeoff. So what I mean by that is you can always come over here and check the layers tab. Unfortunately this drawing doesn't actually have any layers. However, if your drawing does, what you will have the ability to do is to remove any of this unwanted design of the drawing. So for example, the doors and the walls and the furniture, we could actually remove this from the drawing, so we are just left with the bare minimum of the actual takeoff that we need. So the layers tab is always worth a check. But what I'm going to do is just get started on the drawing. So all we have to do is decide where on this particular drawing it is that we would actually like to start from. So I'm going to start here from this riser. So I'm just going to get myself into a nice place of where we'd like to be, and then simply just come down the list a little bit here. So we have the different colours, effectively what colour highlighter we want to use, so I'm just going to leave it in red. And then we need to import a service. Now the service is extremely helpful with regards to if you actually want to export this into our estimating software, or if you wanted to export this onto an Excel document, because this is going to effectively give us the grouping of our different takeoffs. So I'm going to particularly break this one up into different services that we're doing. So in this particular instance, I'll put this in as the LTHW. So LTHW red is then going to be the category for all of the next takeoff in which I'm going to do. So where we're going to want to start then is we're going to want to start with some 32 diameter. So I'm going to come down here and input 32. Now this particular instance it is flow and return, so I'm going to hit the flow and return button, and the return size seems to be the same as well, so there's no need to adjust that, but we could if we needed to. Now basically what we are going to want to do is just come up here at the top, and what you'll have the ability to do is actually look through your different pipe options or ductwork options. So at the minute we're currently looking at all of the steel pipe work, so we have the ability to measure just the pipe itself, the ability to count the risers, or more preferably instead of doing just the straight pipe, we have the ability for the system to actually take note in the change of direction and allow either the 45 or 90 degree bends. This will do exactly that, but also allow for flanges on the straight, and finally this will do that again, but also allow additional flanges for every bend that is needed. We also have the ability to count manual bends and so on and so forth, as you can see easily looking down this list. But what you can do is switch from your steel by pressing the A and B button over to your copper, and then if you press it again it will finally change you over to the ductwork. Press it once more and the sequence will repeat. You also have the ability to press this button up here at the top as well that does exactly the same thing. So what I'm going to want to do first is select the riser icon. So I'm going to grab my pipework riser, and that will actually allow me the ability to allow for any additional fittings. And the default riser length is coming out to 3 meters. If you want, this can be adjusted or adjusted permanently in your preferences. So I'm just going to simply press confirm because I'm happy with this, and I'm just going to come here, and all I'm going to do is give it one left click. Now that's going to allow this count for me with the part number, so that's got part number 1, 2, 3 and 4 in there. Now if you do actually want to sort of minimize the counts that's on your screen, we can come up here to your preferences, user preferences, and then come down here, and you see you have these different options here, such as part numbers and showing arrows on the line. So I'm going to preferably turn those two off for myself. I would also recommend turning on the autosave functionality as well. Simply click autosave and input an interval in which you'd like it to save. I'd recommend about 10 minutes. And so simply just press exit, and that will save all of those settings for you. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to undo that with this button up here. So this is our undo and redo function. And then come down, select my riser again, say I want the bend, press confirm, and I'm going to do my count there. Now if that is a bit more preferable for you, then that's how you can adjust that. And if you do actually want that to come out a little bit bigger, you can actually come up here and adjust your sizing. So I'm going to change it up to 1.2 and try once more. And there we are, that's given me a nice big count, so I can easily see that I've been there previously. So now that I actually want to sort of continue and start doing my measure, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go with the straight with bends option. So I'm just going to simply left click this and left click here into the bend, and then up to the junction with another left click. Now what I want to do is finalize this run to say that I'm done with a right click. You'll see actually once I've done that, it's actually going to bring the information down here at the bottom. There we are, we can see that it's brought in the different pipework lengths as well as the pipe bend. If you actually want to read that a bit more, simply just come up here to these two blue arrows, give that a press, and that will actually expand all of this grid a bit more for you. So it's there, we can see the pipework the first instance we did, and then we see the bend, and then we can see the final distance up to the T-junction. So that's allowed everything there for us, and then what we can do is simply grab the T and allow for the count for that. Now that has turned the flow and return function off, so I am just going to give that an additional click. Okay, so now what we can do is actually carry on and measuring down the run. So I've got, I can go either way, it doesn't effectively matter, so I'm going to go towards the left and I'm going to adjust this down to 20 mil, which automatically adjusts the return for us. So now I can simply left click here as far as I can go, and this is what I mean by pushing in and holding the middle mouse button, because now I can easily drag myself along the drawing can see exactly where it is that I need to go to. So once again, I can put to the junction, finalize that with a right click, and then input my T again, and remember to double count. And then effectively just keep that run going. Now I change over to the 15 mil and repeat the process once more. And obviously you can see each time we get to the junctions, it is actually allowing for the bend for us. So with that in mind, I am actually going to give this a little bit of a left turn, just so it inputs that bend for me and recognizes that there will be a change there. Now obviously if I wanted to go around and allow for the different sets for these particular radiators in my instance, we could use something like the pipe riser, where we can come here, simply adjust this down to what meterage we'd actually like to allow for that, and any additional fittings again. Give that one left click, and that is going to input everything in which we would need. I'll simply undo that though for now. Now as you can see, the actual process of actually going around and doing the different measurements and counts is effectively quite a simple one. But if there is anything additional in which we need to go around and allow for, or if we wanted just to make a note of anything, we do have that sort of functionality as well. What you'd want to come up to is this special item button here. Now simply just give this a left click, and what this is going to do is open up a bunch of different things in which we can allow for. So whether that would be subcontract options, like as you can see here, so you simply select category and then give it a description, and you can input site hours and material costs, but you don't necessarily have to do that right now. If you are going to be doing it in the estimating system, you can always go back and adjust it later. Following the same sort of functionality basically with the material items, or if it's a labour only item, you can just say what it is that we're allowing for, if there's strip outs or anything that needs to be done, and you can leave your site hours there in decimal hours. Or if you did need to make a note, whether this would be for yourself or for the client, you can simply write this up as a comment, and what you can actually do is just allow for that on the drawing somewhere, and that will actually come out in either the export onto the estimating or the export into the Excel document. Now with this actually, with regards to leaving notes and actually being able to come down here and make adjustments to anything, if you ever find that perhaps you didn't change your service, or you're not happy with the length that needs to be done and you actually just want to allow a little bit more, or you've inputted the wrong size, most of this information on screen is adjustable, so you can just come here and adjust where you need to be. You do not need to undo anything that you've previously done and do it again. Most of the time you can just come here and adjust it. And if there is a large range, such as this all being done in the wrong service, I could highlight everything that I've done, right click, change by range, and as you can see I've got a lot of abilities in here just to be able to quickly go in and adjust them all at once. So that is something that you can do if you do accidentally make any mistakes on this drawing, or that on any other drawing. So just so we've been through the process, I'm just going to switch over onto the ductwork drawing now, just to show you the actual takeoff of that, even though it's effectively the same thing. So I'm just going to quickly save my drawing here, and I'm going to label this as takeoff, so I know that this is my finished version of the drawing. So quickly save that like that, and we will import that into the estimating later on. So what I'm now going to do is just press this open icon again. I have saved, so yes, that's fine. And I'm going to change over to the ductwork layout. So as we know from before, first thing we are going to want to do is go down to the bottom, check the scale, and make sure all of this is correct. So we have a scale of 1 to 50 at AO. It does agree it's AO. We'll set it to 1 to 50, and because it's a ductwork drawing, we can actually measure the ductwork itself. So what I'm going to do is just come up to here and measure this little bit here, which should be 200 in diameter, and that's come out just a little bit over, but that was my clicking, so that's perfectly fine. So first thing we're going to do is check the layers, and this time we do actually have layers available, so we'll be able to give you a bit more of an example. So what I'm going to do is actually just start by going through and removing little bits from this drawing just to make it all a little bit easier. So straight away, with only removing 3 of them, we can see the actual drawing is a lot easier to deal with than what it was previously before, with all the information on the screen. So I'm just going to leave it like this for now, just to give you that little bit of an example. And what we're going to do is straight away change over to our ductwork, and we're starting off here with some rectangular, 800 by 400. So what I'm going to do is input that size in, and this is for the fresh air. Now I could change my colour if I wish, but I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to come up here and select the rectangular straight ductwork. So obviously highlight over all of them and they'll tell you what each one is for. And just like before, we just want to left click from point A into the bend, then down to point B, and then finalize that with a right click, and that will allow for it all on screen. I'm then able to quickly change over to my spiral, input the next size, and then carry on from there. So left click, and it comes down here, left click, and then finalize that with a right click. There we are. So as you can see, that easily goes through, and then you will just follow the same process for the rest of the drawing that was needed. There is a couple of little quick tips that would work either with the ductwork or the pipework. So here is actually a really good example of this. So what I'm going to do is show you how we can actually just take off one of these and then count up the rest of them. So all we have to do is actually pay attention to what part number we're on. So we're on part 6 currently. So our next count is all going to be part 7. So I'm going to left click from here to here and finalize that with the right click, which is allowed, as you can see down here, 2.09 meters. So I'm just going to quickly highlight that, press this RPT function, which will allow me to recount all these any particular measures in which you highlighted. So there we are, all these takeoff lines are now the same, and we can quickly switch back over to the straight and then carry on actually going round on our particular ductwork measure. So as you can see, that will be quite helpful with counting. That here, over here, for example, is another instance of where we would be able to use the repeat functionality. We have it here as well if we wanted to. So you can always try and apply that anywhere you can. Now, like I said, that does work with either the ductwork or the pipework takeoff functionalities. Either way, it doesn't make a difference, and you can highlight as many items as you like to use the repeat functionality. If we wanted to, we could highlight all 12 lines here and repeat it all with one button. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just show you how to transfer all the information that we've just taken off onto the estimating software. So there is actually two ways of doing it. You've got the way of doing it with the drawing live on screen like it is currently, or we've got the ability to read in previously taken off drawings like the one we've just saved. So I'm going to take us through the first way of having both softwares open. So as you can see down here, I do have my estimating software open. And what I'm going to do is on the PDF is just press the export to estimating button, which is this little one right here, which is also repeated down here once again. So just give it a press and this should come up with your job's information. Now that is the correct job code of what we're reading it into. So I'm just going to simply press the confirm button, which has now marked all of these as being exported. Now that is quite actually helpful because if we now do any more additional takeoff and we need to read that in, it will actually leave these behind effectively because we've already imported them over. So now to actually get it all on the screen. Now what I'm going to do is just come over here to my import PDF button, give that a press, which is then going to open up the different services that we've done. Now if I highlight this, we can see we've got the different ductwork measures in which we've done. All I need to do is assign what specification I would like to do with this. Now all of that is actually all covered in the estimatings video, so I would go give that a watch if you are a little bit unsure on this. So what I'm going to do now is just select the fact of which spec we're going to read it into. So I'm going to read it into my duct wrap, tape and ID for the duct supply, press confirm, give that a highlight, select the fact if I'd like this to go into my ground floor ductwork section, and then simply press import. And that will read all of the information across for us. So we can see there it's actually accumulated it all for us into 3 individual lines. And now what I'm going to show you how to do is how to import takeoff from a drawing that's already been completed and saved. So just to help us out, I'm going to already move up into the pipework section. So when I press import PDF, it's going to automatically put us there. So what I'm going to do now is just navigate to where the drawing is saved. So if I come in here, I can see I have my mechanical layout takeoff where we saved it before. Now this is only searching for the SDF files, which is a special type of file that gets saved with the PDF takeoff. So don't be alarmed if you can't see your other PDFs in there. Simply just press open and then it's going to follow the exact same suit of what it did previously. So click on LTHW, we can see our various different takeoff lines in which we need. I'm going to simply assign it to a spec, and I'm going to apply it to this one, the H&V, tape and ID. Select it again, and it's already in the right section, so I'm just going to press my import button. And there we are, that has now moved it all across into the estimating, and here's our comment line from previously. And so that's how you can actually get it all read in, and you'd effectively just keep on repeating that process again and again. Now, if you do want any of this information exported directly out into the Excel icon, that's quite a nice simple process. All you do is you come up here to your Export to Excel button, give that a press. That's going to want to save in the exact same location in which your drawing is, so just label it up accordingly so you know exactly what it is. Press save, and that will export that all out for you. Then what you need to do to actually copy over the Excel or the completed takeoff, if you'd like that on your local machine as well, is simply press the blue Cloud Documents button again, go into your drawing folder, and in here I can see I have my 3 CSVs, effectively Excels. I can highlight all of them as well as my completed mechanical takeoff drawing as well as the SDF file, and simply use the same process that we did to upload, simply by copying and then pasting. And there we are. That has moved all of the information of what we've done back onto my desktop to be stored however it is that you would preferably like to do so. Now, if you do actually need help with anything to do with the PDF takeoff, please just come over to the support button, give that a press, and in here you will be able to see all of our contact information as well as being able to talk to us for our online chat and submit tickets. And we've also created a couple of helpful articles to actually help you through using the system if you'd like to have a little read of those. Okay, thank you.